Hi, Robbins. How are you? I hope you had a good weekend. We're going to do something a little different this week. We're going to start with a book and then we'll follow it with circle time. Our book is called The House on East 88th Street. The words are by Bernard Weber and the illustrations are by Bernard Weber. So he is the author and the illustrator. And every book we read this week will be by Bernard Weber. I think you're going to really enjoy them. You're going to meet a fun new friend. So here we go. This is the house on East 88th Street. It is empty now, but it won't be for long. Strange sounds come from the house. Can you hear them? Listen. Swish, swash, splash, swoosh. It began one Sunday morning when the Citywide Storage and Moving Company truck pulled up to the house on East 88th Street and unloaded the belongings of Mr. and Mrs. Joseph F. Prim and their young son, Joshua. It was a trying day for everyone. Mrs. Prim just couldn't decide where to put the piano, and Mr. Prim's favorite pipe was accidentally packed away in one of the dozens of cartons lying around. It's moving day. They can be pretty busy. Swish, swash, swoosh. Loudly and clearly the sounds now rumbled through the house. It's only a little thunder, Mrs. Prim assured everyone. When a Citywide Storage and Moving man carried in their potted pistachio tree, everyone rejoiced. The truck was at last empty. The movers wished them well and hurried off to their next job for the day. Now I'm going to prepare our lunch, announced Mrs. Prim. But first, I want to go upstairs and wash these grimy hands. Swish, swash, sploosh. A puzzled Mrs. Prim stopped to listen. By and by, her ears directed her to the bathroom door. What can it be? She asked herself as she opened the door. What do you think's in the bathroom? Oh. What she saw made her slam it quickly shut. What does she see? Mrs. Prim knew she was going to scream and just waited for it to happen, but she couldn't scream. She could scarcely even talk. The most Mrs. Prim was able to manage was the sharp, hoarse whisper of a voice that she used to call Mr. Prim. Joseph, there's a crocodile in our bathtub. Mr. Prim looked into the bathroom. What would you do if there was a crocodile in your bathtub? There he is. She was right. The next moment found them flying off in different directions. Help, help, Mrs. Prim cried out as she struggled with the window stuck with fresh paint. Operator, operator, Mr. Prim shouted into the telephone, and then he remembered that it was not yet connected because they had just moved in. Joshua, who had heard everything, raced to the front door to be greeted there by an oddly dressed man who handed him a note. This will explain everything about the crocodile, said the man, leaving quietly but swiftly. He knows about the crocodile. Mr. Prim read the note. Please be kind to my crocodile. He is the most gentle of creatures and would not do harm to a flea. He must have tender, loving care, for he is an artist and can perform many good tricks. Perhaps he will perform some for you. I shall return cordially, Hector P. Valenti, star of stage and screen. P.S. He will only eat Turkish caviar. P.P.S. His name is Lyle. Turkish caviar, indeed, exclaimed Mrs. Prim. Oh, to think this could happen on East 88th Street. Whatever will we do with him? Suddenly, before anybody could think of a worthy answer, there was Lyle. He wants to meet them. And just as suddenly he got hold of a ball that had been lying among Joshua's belongings and began to balance it on his nose and roll it down the notches of his spine. Now he was walking on his front feet and taking flying leaps. He's doing lots of tricks, isn't he? There he is. Now he's doing a hula hoop. Now he was twirling Joshua's hoop, doing it so expertly that the Prims just had to clap their hands and laugh. Lyle bowed appreciatively. He had won his way into their hearts and into their new home. Looks like they're going to keep Lyle. They love him. Every home should have a crocodile, said Mrs. Prim one day. Lyle's one of the family now. He loves helping with the chores. He won't allow anyone else to carry out old newspapers or take in the milk. He's being a good helper, isn't he? He folds the towels, feeds the bird, and when he sets the table, there is always a surprise. Oh, what did he put on the table today? Looks like he put some roses on. I had only to show him once how to make up a bed. There he is making his bed. Do you make your beds? People everywhere stop to talk with him. They say he is the nicest crocodile they ever met. Lyle likes to play in the park. He always goes once around in the pony cart. And he learned to eat something besides Turkish caviar. Uh-oh, he likes Italian ice. Lyle is a good sport. Everyone wants to play on his side. Having fun playing volleyball. He is wonderful company. We take him everywhere. Just give him his Turkish caviar and his bed of warm water, and he is happy as a bird. One day, a brass band paraded past the house on East 88th Street. The Prim family rushed to the window to watch. They called for Lyle, but there was no answer. Uh-oh. There he is. Look, someone pointed out, it's Lyle. He's in the parade. There was Lyle, doing his specialty somersault, flying leaps, walking on front feet, and taking bows, just as he did the first day they laid eyes on him. The people watching cheered him on while Lyle smiled back at them and blew kisses. A photographer was on hand to take pictures. He's making everybody happy. The next day, Lyle was famous. The telephone rang continually and bundles of mail were dropped by the door. One letter was from someone Lyle knew particularly well. Mr. Prim read it. Just a few words to say. I shall return cordially. Hector P. Valenti, star of stage and screen. P.S. Very soon. P.P.S. To fetch my crocodile. He wants to take Lyle back. Several days later, Mrs. Prim and Lyle were in the kitchen, shelling peas when they heard a knock on the door. It was Hector P. Valenti, star of stage and screen. I have come for Lyle, announced Signora Valenti. How do you think the Prims feel about that? You can't have Lyle, cried Mrs. Prim. He is very happy living here, and we love him dearly. Lyle must be returned to me, insisted Signor Valenti. Was it not I who raised him from a young crocodile? Was it not I who taught him to do his bag of tricks? We have appeared together on stages the world over. But why then did you leave him alone in a strange house? Asked Mrs. Prim. Because, answered Signora Valenti, I could no longer afford to pay for his Turkish caviar. But now Lyle is famous, and we will get a lot of money. Mrs. Prim was saddened, but she knew Lyle properly belonged to Signor Valenti, and she had to let him go. It was a tearful parting for everybody. How do they all look? Oh, Mrs. Prim is sad. Joshua is sad. Signor Valenti had big plans for Lyle. They were going to travel far and wide. They were going to stay in many hotels. Where sometimes the tubs were too big, and other times they were too small, or too crowded. Signor Valenti did what he could to coax a smile from Lyle. He tried making funny faces at him. He stood on his head. He tickled his toes and told him uproarious stories that in happier days would have had Lyle doubled over with laughter. But Lyle could not laugh. Nor could he make people laugh. He made them cry instead. One night in Paris, he made an entire audience cry. The theater manager was furious and ordered them off the stage. Why do you think Lyle is so sad? You think he misses the Prim family in New York on East 88th Street? Meanwhile, at the house on East 88th Street, Mrs. Prim went about her work with her usual bright smile, and deep sighs could be heard coming from behind the newspaper Mr. Prim was reading. Every morning, Joshua anxiously awaited the arrival of the mailman in hope of receiving a word from Lyle. One morning, a letter did come. He knew the handwriting very well. Just a few words to say, "We shall return. Cordially, Hector P. Valenti, former star of stage and screen. P.S. I am sick of crocodiles. P.P.S. and the tears of crocodiles." Oh, I think they're coming home. Not too many days after, the Prims were delighted to find Hector P. Valenti and Lyle at their door. "Here, take him back," said Signor Valenti. "He is no good. He will never make anyone laugh again." But Signor Valenti was very much mistaken. Everyone laughed and laughed and laughed, and in the end, so did Signor Valenti. They look happy now, right? They're all together. So, now if you should happen to be walking past the house on East 88th Street, and if you should happen to hear sounds that go swish, swash, sploosh, don't be surprised. It's only Lyle. Lyle the crocodile. Did you like that book? What was your favorite part? I liked when Lyle came home too. I also thought it was really fun when he surprised them with tricks at the beginning and made them feel comfortable around a crocodile. Who do I have here? This is Lyle. Say hi to Lyle. Hello, Robbins. And what do I have here? This is our challenge this week. We're going to make a house on East 88th Street. This is mine. I used some paint and some markers and a box. And I'm going to have, and that's where Lyle's going to be living, on the house. That's what my house on East 88th Street is starting to look like. I think I need to add maybe some windows, maybe a doorknob, but this is mine. You could draw your house on East 88th Street, or you could build it out of blocks, or you could build it out of a box like I did. You could use your imagination. So have fun building your house on East 88th Street for Lyle Crocodile. See you soon, Robbins, for circle time.